that little bit, and
you're
there's
only
a-
one of 3 teams that didn't get paid.
no, they haven't paid. I think they have 15 baseball teams.
As of today, I think it was your 3.
No, the baseball has identified us, the Twins, and now I can't think of Arizona, as the 3 that they're going to jump in and take over the production, possibly. So instead of, if you have Spectrum, let's say, and you're at 1308, you just go to 1326 where the MLB network is. So if it's a 7 o'clock game, at 6:30 you'll get the pregame show, and at 7 o'clock you'll get Archie and Matt and Andre, and they're going to produce it. Baseball is. So they identified us 3. I don't know specifically the reasoning behind that. But baseball had said from the beginning, if they're negligent, and first they announced their bankruptcy, then they had a period of time where even though they announced that they could still pay up, that when they get to that point where they aren't paying up, baseball's going to take over and the games will be delivered. So you're not going to miss out.
And they're going to be delivered streaming, and I heard free.
Streaming, that part, again, on Spectrum.
I was just suggesting.
Yeah. It ain't gonna be free. But streaming is where this whole thing is going.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just the way of the world. People are watching on all different devices, and that's the issue. And I honestly, I wish I had more concrete information to share, but I don't, because it's so complicated and there's still so many different options available out there. Just know that Major League Baseball is going to dive in when that absolute final deadline hits, and they're going to take over and make sure that the games are going to be delivered.
Cool. All right. So let's get to the important stuff. How are you feeling about the team? I mean, who are you excited about? What does this season really, do you think, looks like?
Well, love this group of guys. I think they showed last year what kind of resiliency and aggressiveness, and clap for a group of guys. 92 wins, 2 rounds of the postseason where, if you believe in these things, rain messed up us again, because we thought we had the Yankees on the ropes, and they end up calling a rain out before they even tell us. Their guys are walking out of the building, and our guys are still in the clubhouse expecting to play.
That's just a bullshit call, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So
The Adventures of Steve and Kevin.
This team has such a remarkable chemistry. Last year was an example of when baseball is working right for an organization that's built on developing your own talent. When young players who have ridden buses in the minor leagues together, they get to the big leagues together and they experience success together, I don't think there's a special joy in baseball than that. It's not a collection of let's go buy this guy, let's go buy that guy, let's go trade for this guy and bring a bunch of different. These guys have been together for a long time in the minor leagues, and then they finally get their chance together. They showed what they could do.
Yeah.
And that's not changing. They know how good they are. And they believe, and believe me, Tito, Carl, our entire Sandy, Sarby, the whole coaching staff, last year had to do more teaching at the big league level than they ever had to before. And they embraced that themselves and really got after it. Our guys understand who they are as a baseball team. We can't just show up and think we're going to be better than the other guy and only give 80%. We need to give 100% every inning of every game, and we show that every night. So I think, we fully expect to win our division, to be playing baseball in October. It's funny, somebody sent me some text even yesterday when that poor kid, Heron, gave up the 3-run homer, walked 2, gave up the 3-run homer to tie the game, and we come back in extra innings and win. And I was getting texts from friends saying, are we going to live through this all season long? And I would say, Confucius says, with high expectation comes high anxiety. And then I would put, you're welcome.
The Adventures of
But
Stephen Kevin.
the expectation of this baseball team is obvious. How
Bob
many people in this
DiBiasio.
room thought we were going to win our division last year when we sat here? Yeah, 2 of us. There were 2 of us. Yeah, there were 2 of us. How many expect us to win this year? That shows you our young athletes have to learn how to deal with that. That's a new thing in their lives, and that's not easy. That's not easy.
All right, so what player do you think is going to make a big difference that maybe comes out of left field
Bad
this year?
question.
Stephen Kwan.
I think that's a bad question.
Ahmed Rosario.
Yeah, Ahmed. Well, I don't know because he's such a
I don't
veteran.
think
Ahmed just started off a bad week of the season. He'll be fine.
Stephen Kwan.
Well, Steven again, but come out of nowhere. He's not coming out of nowhere because, he's a remarkable.
Not fair.
Boy, maybe Arias, Gabriel Arias,
Not fair.
or Will Brennan. They only had parts of the season last year. Those 2
The
guys are
Adventures
going
of
to have a
Stephen
major
Kevin.
impact on this baseball team.
How long do you
That's
think we're
like
going to have 3
asking if
catchers?
Rick Manning was going to be an impact.
I think once Zunino, he hadn't played since
That's crazy.
June of the previous year.
Terrible.
Once he gets settled in
Good
Bo
God.
Nyland. His
and his
brother.
body gets used
Can you hear me?
to playing
Bo
more
Nyland, did you pick him
regularity, we
As a
may
catcher?
only have to
Oh.
use 2. But for right now,
The Adventures of Stephen
we got to
Kevin.
really watch his workload.
All right. Now, Minnesota came out of the box a little quicker than I think anybody expected. Is that real or?
You're right.
No, I think all of us firmly expect that the White Sox, Twins, and us will battle for the division as we expected to last year. Most experts handed the division to the White Sox.
And they're handing it to us this year.
Well, yeah, as they should, because we're the reigning champ. And that's the way it goes. But in September, we really took it to the White Sox and Twins. I mean,
The Adventures of Stephen Kevin.
who came in second? I think White Sox were 11 back and the Twins were 14 back or something like that. I mean, we really took it to them in September last year when it was still sort of in the balance, and our guys just stood up and kicked butt in the last month of the season to get to October. Now, we fully expect, keep your fingers crossed so we stay healthy, that, we're the team to beat in our division, and why not?
Yeah, there you go. All right. I was digging through, I don't know, I think this is your 6th time doing this, Bob. So I really appreciate that. I think at the first one, so I'm going to go back and ask. I'm going to do some history now. How many times have you mistakenly said the Indians?
How many? I've actually been pretty good at not saying Indians. I've been horrible at not saying tribe. That just flows so
The Adventures of Stephen
easily.
Kevin.
That's the harder one for me.
All right, but let's go back in time. You told a story about how one of Albert Bell's bats was confiscated.
I remember that.
Tell that story.
Well,
how the bat was retrieved.
Well, in the postseason against Boston, Kevin Kennedy's the manager of the Red Sox, and Albert is just having one of his wild postseasons in '95. He was the most feared hitter in baseball that year. First man in the history of baseball to have 50 homers and 50 doubles. He had 52 doubles and 50 homers. Babe Ruth, nobody had ever done it in the historay of the game. And so to get under his skin, Kevin Kennedy asked to confiscate his bat, because that was that famous picture of Albert in the dugout that we made a bobblehead of, pointing to his muscles. So they confiscate the bat.
During the game, right?
During the game. And so after the game, Dr. Bobby Brown is up on the dais in the press interview room, and I'm standing off to the side, and he's holding two pieces of a bat. And they had cut the bat horizontally under the label. So there were a few of us, not knowing if Albert had corked that bat or not. Because on occasion he did. But
Wow.
there's a caveat to that. The reason guys would cork a bat, it had nothing to do with making the ball go further.
It's
Nothing
weight.
at all.
It's
like
loosen
that.
it up.
All it was their specific bat, which was a specific number of ounces and certain number of inches. They got tired later in a year. They didn't want to go to a different bat that was lighter. They wanted their bat to be lighter. So you took a little bit of the wood out, you put a little bit of cork powder, and in their minds it made the bat and made their bat speed stay the speed that it should be. And again, it didn't have anything to do with the ball going 20 feet
I'm calling
further or any
bullshit.
of that nonsense. So I always wondered why that was such a big issue in the game of baseball. But
Adventures of
they
Stephen
cut it
Kevin.
horizontally, and so we're all sitting there going, well, they cut it too low, and so they found nothing, and
They cut it too low.
Dr. Bobby Brown, the president of the American League, hands me the bat, the two pieces. So, I'm walking back to the clubhouse, and Albert's sitting in his locker, and I'm like, hey, AB. He doesn't turn around and say, AB. And he looks, he goes, what do you want? And I said, I'm holding the two pieces of the bat. And you want these? I mean, this is your, he goes, what am I going to do with that? I said, I don't know, it's yours. It's your bat.
Get rid of it?
I don't want them. Then he got up and went to shower or whatever, and I placed him in his locker and hightailed it out of there. And don't know whatever happened to him. I've asked him, he says he doesn't have them. So I don't know what happened to those things. In retrospect, I should have kept it in case a museum piece or something of that would have been very cool, but I wasn't thinking in those terms at that time. So that was a fun one.
All right, cool. Let's talk a little bit. Progressive Field is, believe it or not, getting to be one of the older ballparks. What are the organization's thoughts? I know you guys have some pretty interesting plans.
Yes, we do. We are the 11th
Adventures of
oldest
Stephen Kevin.
ballpark in America in the big leagues.
That's
There were
amazing.
4 of us that were built in 93 and 94. Baltimore, Chicago, Texas, and us. Texas is on their 3rd ballpark already. We have not touched the upper deck in our first 29 years. We concentrated on the lower deck, and we don't have any trouble selling tickets in the lower deck, and redid the whole, as you all know, the food and beverage presentation and making it
Are you trying
more
to block my
open and
camera?
light.
Oh, no, I didn't know you were still filming, sorry.
More fun and spacious.
I know.
We thought it was time that we took care of our fans who love to sit upstairs. And so we're gonna blow up the Terrace Club. Go to CleeGuardians.com and check out the video. It's called Progressive Field Reimagined. It's gonna be remarkable. The whole left field corner is gonna be, again, no more Terrace Club concept, no more glass. Those triangular glass pieces, they're gone. Cargo boxes in right field will be gone. Whole new social gathering, group outing space up there. We're doing a whole
No
new
more storage
clubhouse.
containers. Those things are disgusting.
Our players deserve much better than what we are offering them. When we opened, it was one of the finest clubhouses and indoor facilities for our athletes that was in big league baseball. Now it ranks in the bottom 10, and we need to upgrade for those guys. The dugout club for an exclusive area is going to be a whole new revamped social. No longer will it be 10 separate suites. It's going to be an open club. When we unveiled it and we had our media gathering, I made the comment that it's not as dramatic, these changes, as going from a 70,000 seat cavernous stadium to a beautiful baseball-only ballpark in downtown Cleveland.
Yes.
But it's awfully close.
All right.
It's awfully close. You will be amazed. Opening day 2025. Now, interestingly, you all shouldn't care about this, but I'm going to share it anyway. About 2 days after the final out, hopefully that's like November 1st or whatever, last game. So 2 days, 3 days after the final out, everybody in our front office has to move out. We have 181 people. When I first started in '79, there were 22 of us in the front office. Now there's 181 of us running around.
Wow.
All of us have to leave. We're renting space, office space for a few people downtown, some big conference rooms for departments that have to get together, but we're going to be working remotely for the entire calendar year of 2024. Probably not stepping foot into the office building till February of 2025, something like that, because we have to add a floor, no more, again, built in 1994, office space doesn't look anything like what office space was built in 94. It's going to be much more open and cafe style and, to promote interaction between different departments instead of being grouped on floors and things of that nature. So it's going to be a real interesting process.
Is the team going to play at League Park in the meantime?
No, we will play.
Good question.
We will play at beautiful Progressive Field. I don't know how many people text me when the first Field of Dreams hit, when the Yankees, was it the Yankees played, or the White Sox played? 2 years ago, where I thought Fox's pregame show was the best thing they ever created on Fox television. That pregame show 2 years ago was remarkable. And everybody's saying, we got to do a Field of Dreams at League Park. And we had already sent word to baseball saying, if this is something that is in your minds, we have the oldest still utilized old ballpark in America. Our building on East 66th and Lexington Avenue is still the only old-time ballpark that is still being used for baseball. Right here in Cleveland.
Peter.
And the Baseball
Park.
Heritage
Right.
Museum
Baseball
is
Heritage
attached to
Museum.
it, which is now, if you go to those travel sites, top 10 places to visit in Cleveland as a group travel thing, League Park and the Baseball Heritage Museum are in the top 10.
Yeah, and they deserve it, guys. I was just there a couple
The
days
Adventures of
ago.
Steve and
It's
Kevin.
just amazing. And I got to run the bases. Well, I tripped a couple times. Anyways, let's turn it over, guys. Questions for Bob from the audience. There you go. Yell it out.
Whole table of DiBiasios here.
What?
What part of Italy?
Oh my goodness.
What part of Italy are the Guardians from? No.
Both my mother and father are from Caserta.
Okay, where in
Both
Italy
from
is
Caserta.
it? South, north?
It's between Naples and Rome, closer to Naples, more inland.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah.
Good question.
The story goes, my dad's father worked on a farm and said to hell with this and found his way to the coast to get on a boat and came over to,
Did he end up?
and ended up in Cleveland and worked in cement.
Okay.
Figure that. Go figure. Hey. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Question right here. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Merchandise with the
Will there be merchandise with the
Will there
John
be
Adams
merchandise
logo
with
on
John
it?
Adams logo?
Yeah. The question was John Adams merchandise kind of thing.
They have the patches. They're going to
We have the patch,
replicated.
and the patch will be available at the team shop for you.
All right.
There you go, John Adams patch.
Not a
Pictures of
shirt,
Steve and
you
Kevin.
get to put it on whatever you want.
You can stitch it on anything.
And you know what? We have jerseys for you to buy that you can put that patch on.
There you go. Out there, go ahead. The one that has your hand up. Stand up, go ahead.
All right, so huge fan of the change to the Guardians.
Thank you.
Love it, okay? Love the new C logo that we have. That G split finger logo there.
You're not a fan of the
Any
fastball?
chance we can rework that?
Yeah, is the Guardians logo changing?
I don't know when we have plans to do that, but you know how it works in logos and sports and jerseys and all that, that over the course of X number of years, you change
Yeah,
up.
so Steve and Kevin.
Something with the Guardians.
Yeah, so,
That's a big
I don't
thing.
know the plan, timetable or whatever. But I'll tell you, the fastball logo sells better than the Diamond C.
I think this one's yours.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got the girls.
5 favorite players of all time. And
Top 5 favorite players.
And why?
Why?
And
Oh,
why?
boy. Well, first, I have to think about 5, but
Top
mostly
10
people
players.
ask me about, who's my favorite. the
That's why
favorite.
I asked for 5.
Thank you. I'll try to do this as fast as I can. Number 1 is always Dwayne Kuiper.
Oh yeah, Wayne
And the
Kuiper.
reason, I'm not sitting up here 45 years in this business. In 1980, I started in 1979 and worked for a man by the name of Harry Jones, legendary writer for the PD, and did TV with Mudcat Grant.
Oh,
At
yeah.
the
Yeah,
end of
Mudcat.
his career, he became the PR man. He hired me, and then after 1 year, he said, "I'm done." And Gabe Paul walked in one morning and looked at me and said, "Hey, kid, you're the new PR director. Have fun." I was 23, 24 years old. I was making 11 grand. So I'm in spring training in 1980, and Dwayne Kuiper comes up to me, and in that spring training, 1980, a man in the back, Mike Starkey, deputy sports editor formerly of the Plain Dealer, and the sports editor Teddy Didens back there as well. They no longer, Teddy writes, but Michael's retired.
The Adventures of Steve and
He
Kevin.
turned me on to Mexican food the very first time. Casa Molina, right, Michael? You turned my wife and I on to Casa Molina restaurant in Tucson, Arizona. But Kite comes up to me and puts his arm around me, and he said, "I'm going to help you learn how to navigate a big league clubhouse. And if he
Wow.
doesn't do that, I'm going to get chewed up, spit out, and who knows how long I last." So I
The
always,
Adventures of
and
Steve
he
and Kevin.
knows how much he meant to me in my lifetime, because he put me under his wing, and he wasn't named Captain Kite
Another
for
ship
no
coming
reason
in
at
behind
all. I
me.
mean, he not only for the players, but for guys like us. Omar, probably number 2, just because being a middle infielder myself, to have the opportunity to watch Omar play for 11 years, a Hall of Fame shortstop, could be the best ever, was a sheer joy. Even in between innings, not just during the games, but the way he would kick the ball up to him, and flip the ball off the back of his glove, and just the flair and everything was all about. He was number 2. And then in the old days, that's tough because Burt Blyleven, a dear friend, one of the most crazy clubhouse pranksters. He always wore this T-shirt when he pitched a great game and knew that the TV cameras were coming in that said, "I with a hard fart." So that they had to shoot, if they didn't want to get that on camera, that they had to shoot his face right up close. So it was just his, that's just a goofy subject. But then when we got to move, and Archie and I have been best friends, since '79. But moving from the stadium to the new ballpark, Sandy, Carlos, and Charlie never said no to me. When I needed them to do something to help promote the move from that old ugly place to this brand new that's get people thinking it's nice and fresh and new, and we've got good young talent. We're building a ballpark and a team at the same time. Those three never, ever, ever said no to me.
Guys, I know we could go forever with questions. He's going to stay around. Big round of applause for Bob DiBiasio and Go Guardians!
The Adventures of Steve and Kevin.
Thank
The
you,
Adventures
sir.
of Steve and
Very
Kevin. Bob
heartfelt thank you from the
DiBiasio.
Music Box.
Music
We
Box
really
Supper Club.
love having you
The
here.
Adventures of Steve and Kevin.
Stick around, folks.
Copy
Have
cut
another
at
beer.